Hello, and welcome to the premiere episode of One Man's Opinion, where my opinion is worth about as much as you make it. Today, we are going to be reviewing Walden, produced by TheaterWorks Hartford. It's a play written by Amy Berryman, starring Diana Oh as Stella, Gina Yee as Cassie, and Gabriel Brown as Brian. The play follows Stella and Brian. Stella and Brian are a couple living in the not too distant future where the Earth has started to expire due to global warming, climate change scenarios. Massive tsunamis are crashing into the coastlines, destroying major cities. Millions of people are dying. People have retreated inland in order to survive, and they are living in a remote house, like a cabin in a woods situation, where they are basically escaping from the chaos that has ensued around the world. They participate in an organization called the Earth Advocates. They are a group of people who are petitioning the government to stop funding organizations like NASA to spend trillions of dollars in space exploration when the money can be allocated to restoring the planet, to feeding the hungry, to restore life as we know it, and hopefully reverse the devastation that is happening on Earth. Meanwhile, Cassie, Stella's sister, she has spent a year on the moon as a scientist working for NASA, in which she has successfully terraformed a plot of land on the moon in order to grow plant life. Now, she has returned from the moon to come and visit her sister and her would-be brother-in-law, because Stella and Brian are engaged, and persuade her sister, who used to work for NASA as well, to join her on her next expedition, which is a trip to Mars to set up a habitat that Stella had created called Walden. Now, Walden is a reference to the Henry David Thoreau book that was kind of a reflection on life on Earth and how to treat the environment and how to interact with people. It's his thoughts and his kind of philosophy on social constructs between humanity and the Earth. Now, this show is fantastic. I am so thrilled that this is the first show I can review for this channel, because it is so beautiful. It's outdoors. TheaterWorks has taken a plot of land that is part of Connecticut's riverfront recapture, and it's gorgeous. You've got the whole forest scenery around you. It's all nature. You get a little bit of ambient sound from the highway and a train that comes by, but that's it. It's beautifully constructed. It's one of the most immersive pieces of theater I've seen. And it's not immersive in the sense of, say, something like Sleep No More in New York City. It's a bit more, how should I put it, environmentally immersive in that the story has so much to do about the Earth. The story has so much to do about respecting the Earth and the world that we live in. And this play just plays that out perfectly. Brian and Stella, they have this kind of rickety old cabin in which it has a kitchen and a bedroom loft and a bathroom. That's the extent of it. They have a garden which they grow their own plant life to feed on. They do minimalist hunting, just enough to survive. Go into town on occasion to take care of whatever special things they need to pick up from the store. Yushin Chen's set design and the direction by Mayan Teo, the concepts and the works that they did to bring this together is fantastic. You can smell it, you can feel it, you see it. After you park in the parking lot, you go about 400 feet, and there you see this cabin and you see this garden. And what's great about the story is that the story is not preachy. It gives both sides of the argument. Brian, particularly, who is strongly advocating using resources to restore the planet versus Cassie, who has decided, no, the Earth is beyond our saving. We need to look for another option. And this terraforming project is that option. We can create life on other planets, and this is how we're going to save the human race. And they make their fair arguments, mostly because what's nice about, for lack of a better term, science fiction, because there is a science fiction-y kind of feel to it because it's set in the future and we're dealing with science and technology that we haven't established and successfully done yet. It makes the arguments believable because we don't know what the future is going to be yet, but it very realistically can be this future. So the arguments feel real. The arguments feel impactful for today's struggles, particularly when you got Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson spending billions of dollars to be the first billionaire in space. I mean, why are they spending so much money on that when they can be giving Amazon employees reasonable salaries or just using the money for more humane purposes than their own pleasure trips? Now, see, that would be Brian's and the Earth Advocates' point of view, where on their side, they can argue, well, our technology is what can help us in exploration and build a better future technologically that will be better for the environment or better for the human race in general. I mean, that's the kind of argument. I'm not advocating one way or the other, but that's just kind of the argument on both sides. The performers are great. All three of them, Diana Oh, Gina Yee, and Gabriel Brown, are all wonderful. The only problem that I really have with the play is the opening scenes between Cassie and Stella when they first see each other. They are it doesn't translate well because sometimes when actors act nervously, they just kind of sit there and fumble around, and it feels like they don't know what they're doing. And yes, that's kind of part of the idea when people are nervous and people are anxious, particularly with another person, that they do just kind of sit around and fumble around a little bit. But in this instance, it just feels like the action doesn't have motivation anywhere. It just feels really stiff and unsure as to where the story is going. But beyond that, everything's great. I mean, there are scenes where Brian and Cassie have a scene where they go a good 100 yards away from the audience and you can barely see them, but their action is relayed very well, and a lot of that has to do with the sound design. Hal Bai's sound design is fantastic. And the reason it's fantastic is because they have given us headsets. The audience wears headsets while sitting in their seats watching the show. And because of that, you get this superb quality sound that is far better than any outdoor speaker that you're going to get with live theater, because those, usually live theater has these really tinny sounding speakers and you can barely make out half of what the characters are saying, what the actors are saying. But this was superb. You get clarity. It's perfect. It's incredible. And it's the most brilliant thing TheaterWorks has contributed to this show, and beyond just the beauty of the set design. Also, got to give a hand to Jeanette Oy-Suk-Yu, the lighting designer. She was fantastic in her design for the lighting effects. And the whole thing about the lighting is that it's outdoors, and the lighting design is matched with the sunset. So the lighting cues bring up the lights perfectly along with the way the sun goes down. And the TheaterWorks actually has to reschedule or shift the opening time of the show every week in order to compensate for the earlier sunset. Beautiful. It's brilliant. It's smart. It's clever. They've taken into account so many little things to make this show as immersive and invigorating as possible. Walden will be continuing until August 22nd. It is at the Riverfront Recapture at 100 Meadow Road, Windsor. And if you can't see it live, because there is only about 50 seats, and if the show's sold out, and if you're still unsure about going to see a show live, they are streaming it from August 15th to August 29th. You can purchase tickets at the TheaterWorks Hartford's website, twhartford.org. And I do encourage everyone to see the show. TheaterWorks Hartford has done a superb job. It is wonderful. It is why TheaterWorks has produced some of the best pandemic theater over the past 18 months. They have set the bar as to what to do during a situation like this, and I commend Rob Ruggiero, the artistic director at TheaterWorks. I commend director May Anteo for her brilliant choices for this production, and I highly, highly recommend Walden by Amy Berryman, live at the Riverfront Recapture, produced by TheaterWorks Hartford. So this is One Man's Opinion. Leave yours in the comments, and I will see you next time.